Hey guys! I love to watch videos of people talking about their anticipated reads for the year. I don't have very many books on this list that are not out yet, and if they are, I have them on pre-order so that I don't forget about them. I also want to preface this by saying that I am not really somebody that makes a set TBR for a year or really even a month. I'm a really heavy mood reader. I had 1 month last year where I literally only read Regency era romances and then I never read one again. So it really just depends on what the vibe is. Let's get started. These are the books that I am interested in reading this year. So first I want to talk about the books that I don't have physically in front of me so I don't forget. I have my list on the side. Let's go through them. So first I have Star Wars Sanctuary. Oh my goodness. Star Wars Sanctuary. A friend of mine sent this to me, and to be honest with you, I don't even know what it's about, but I didn't know that they were making Star Wars books. I feel like maybe that's dumb. I have like the original Star Wars book on my shelf, but I didn't know that they were still making books, which I feel like now that I'm reflecting on it, it makes sense that they would. Of course they would. I just didn't know. And I don't know if anyone else is going to see the connection here, but I used to love Doctor Who. And that stretched into me loving reading the Doctor Who books. And they were like all written by a different author. They all had different storylines. Anyway, that's like barely connected, but in my head it just makes sense. I love the Star Wars movies. And so, of course, I'm going to want to read a new Star Wars book. Next, I don't think this will surprise anybody, but I really want to read Catabasis by R.F. Kuang. I have only ever read Babel from her. Crazy, I know. I'm going to spoil it for you now. The Poppy War is on this list also. So I guess we'll just combine them. Catabasis is her new book coming out in August, I think. I think it is August. So excited to read it. Let me pull up what the description is actually. Should I talk about the description of these as I go? Probably. I'm going to be real with you. I'm not even going to read the description for the Star Wars book. I feel like that'll just be something that's fun to go into blind. Alice Law has only ever had one goal: to become one of the brightest minds in the field of magic. She has sacrificed everything to make that a reality. Her pride, her health, her love life, and most definitely her sanity. All to work with Professor Jacob Grimes at Cambridge, the greatest magician in the world. That is, until he dies in a magical accident that could possibly be her fault. Grimes is now in hell. She's going after him. Because his recommendation could hold her very future and is now in corporeal hands, and even death is not going to stop the pursuit of her dreams. Nor will the fact that her rival, Peter Murdoch, has come to the very same conclusion. With nothing but the tales of Orpheus and Dante to guide them, enough chalk to draw the pentagrams necessary for their spells, and the burning desire to make all the academic trauma mean anything, they set off across hell to save a man they don't even like. But hell is not like the storybooks say. Magic isn't always the answer, and there's something in Alice and Peter's past that could forge them into the perfect allies, or lead them to their doom. Tell me that doesn't sound good. You can't. I feel like everybody knows the Poppy War. I'm not going to go into it. I've heard it's fantastic. I have heard it's brutal, but I am emotionally preparing myself. I'm excited. Another non-shocker, Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry is also coming out this year. I think that one comes out in April, I think. I already have it on pre-order. So excited. I have read all of her adult romance novels. I know she has some young adult books out. I have not read those. I kind of want to save them because my sisters and I have talked briefly about reading them together, and I think that could be fun. Anything Emily Henry new release I'm going to read. I feel like that should not be surprising. I don't even know what this... Oh no, I do remember looking into the description for this actually. Yeah, 2 writers compete for the chance to tell the larger-than-life story of a woman with more than a couple of plot twists up her sleeve in this dazzling and sweeping new novel from Emily Henry. I just know it's going to be good. Emily Henry just has such a special way of telling stories. Okay, I think I only have one more pre-order on this list. This one I'm also incredibly excited about. This one is Anji Kills a King by Evan Leakum. If you guys are not familiar, Evan Leakum is a creator on this platform. He also has a podcast. I've been following him for years. He is coming out with this book. I think it comes out in March. I know he's been writing this book for a while now, and when he announced that it was picked up by a publisher, I immediately started looking up the title. Immediately. Obviously, there was like one article that popped up and that was it. However, every month I've been Googling it since, and the second that it was available for pre-order, I pre-ordered it. I'm so happy for him. He deserves it. He deserves all the good things. Okay, now we'll go through the books that are already out that I just don't have physically with me. Okay, The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. My husband read this book last year. Honestly, it might have been the year before. It's been a while. He loved it. Loved it. And I have heard so many fantastic things about this author and about the trilogy. Supposedly, it has like amazing world building. The characters are incredible. It's a diverse set of characters too. We love. But he bought it for me on Kindle. Also, he bought me the whole trilogy. It wasn't just the first book. He got the whole trilogy for me. So it's just sitting on my Kindle, waiting for me to open it. This year, I will get to it. I'm swearing it. Also, currently downloaded on my Kindle is Of Blood and Fire. Okay, Of Blood and Fire by Ryan Cahill. I just heard so many good things about this series. What books do you want to read this year? Kristen and Maddie recommended this series, I think, on one of their podcast episodes. And I've seen a ton of people bring it up. I've heard it's fantastic, the whole series, particularly the first book. And I just want to experience it. It's on Kindle Unlimited, so I have it downloaded on my Kindle. I just got to get around to it. I think that's it for books I don't have in front of me. So we'll go through my physical list next. I've had most of these for a while now, and I just haven't gotten around to reading them. And I want to do it. Also in a weird order, just go with it. Okay, first book on here is Stamped from the Beginning. And my husband actually bought this book with the intention of reading it. I don't know if he has The Definitive History of Racist Ideas in America. This is a National Book Award winner. I have heard this book is fantastic. And I just want to learn, I want to be more of a nonfiction girly. I love podcasts, but I've never been super into nonfiction books. And books are a great way to learn things. And I already love reading. So I'm hoping that I can get more into reading nonfiction. I truly think I just haven't read enough nonfiction books that interested me, because there are a select number of nonfiction books that I have loved, and they were just about topics that I'm passionate about, like engineering. So I'm thinking if I read more nonfiction books about topics I'm interested in, maybe I can convince myself to be a nonfiction girly. I would like to learn more about racism, so this one's on there. Related to that, I also want to read, my husband did read this book. He rated this very highly. The Color of Law. This one is A Forgotten History of How Our Government Segregated America. My husband read this, and I remember every night before bed when he was reading it, he would drop the book, and he'd be like, oh my god, did you know this? And I never did, so I would like to go through this and read it myself. And this one was apparently longlisted for the National Book Award for Nonfiction. This book has been on my list for like 2 years now. This one is The Library of Fragile History. It is exactly what you would think. It is just the history of libraries. It looks really long. I'm pretty sure this is only like a 400-page book, which I guess is like moderate length. I think that this would be amazing to listen to in audiobook format, but I couldn't find it available at my library in audiobook format. So, and I'm not going to download Audible, guys. I'm not going to do it. I feel like Audible is really expensive, and you only get like 1 token a month, right? Or 2 tokens. I think my sister pays for it, and she was telling me about it, and I was like, what? Doesn't make sense to me. I don't know. Maybe I'll get there. Oh, I forgot to say, I actually just downloaded The Color of Law on my library. Did have it available in audiobook format. We love. So hopefully it'll be like listening to a very informational podcast. Maybe this will be telling. Side rant. My favorite podcasts to listen to are, aside from like book podcasts, are like nonfiction random information podcasts. So like Caustic Soda, they stopped making episodes like years ago, but they're one of my favorite podcasts. They just pick a new topic every episode, and then you just learn about it for 40 to 60 minutes, and then you learn a new thing, and I loved it. Stuff You Should Know, very similar, a little less silly, but also love that one. I just love learning, And then I used to be really into listening to like Vox podcasts, just because they condense the news pretty well. Anyway, I like informational, deep podcasts, okay? And so for that reason, I think that I will love listening to this in audiobook format on my way to work, on my way home from work. We're moving into my last 3. Sorry, I know this has been taking a while. I'm a very rambly person. This will probably not surprise anybody. I read the Farseer trilogy last year, and I loved it. It's a 5-star series for me. So amazing. And I've heard even better things about this one. Ship of Magic by Robin Hobb. This is the first in the Live Ship Traders trilogy. I've heard a lot of people say that this is their favorite trilogy in the whole universe that she has created here. So I really hope I love this, guys. I did start it like last year, and I took a break because I started reading something else. I was reading like some book club books I needed to catch up on. I'm on page 117. I'm excited to pick it back up. It is slow to start, but based on how Assassin's Apprentice started, I don't think it's surprising. So hopefully it picks up and I love it the same way that I loved the Assassin trilogy. That's not what it's called, but you know what I mean. Okay, next, probably also not surprising, The Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan. This one's Eye of the World. It's book 1 in the series. I also started this one. I'm just realizing I think my bookmark fell out of this. I'm on page 80-ish, I think 90, 100, somewhere in there. This is part of a 12-book series. I think it might be 13 books. It's a long series, but I have heard the payoff. Is worth it. I also really like Brandon Sanderson's writing. I've heard people compare Robert Jordan a lot to Brandon Sanderson, and I think that Brandon Sanderson actually picked up some of the books at the end of the series after the author passed away. Last book on my list. This is kind of embarrassing to admit to you guys. Do you guys remember when I read The Shadow of What Was Lost a year and a half ago? Do you guys remember that? Maybe not. It's been a while. The second book I started January of last year. I finished the second book in November of last year. It took me almost a whole year to read that book. I have not started the third book. I've seen a lot of people say this is their favorite book in the trilogy, and God, she's a brick of a book. I know that I am probably really going to love it once I get into it. I think that the second book ended off on a great cliffhanger. The setup was really good. I think the beginning of this will be interesting. With that, I think that once I start it, I'm not going to want to stop it to read anything else. Or, on the opposite, it might be like how I was with the second book, where I felt like there was just so much information being dumped on me all the time that I needed to take a lot of breaks. It's either going to be one or the other. However, I'm not going to take a year to read this like I did with the second one, okay? I can't do it. If it takes that long, I'm going to have to DNF it. Can't do it again, guys. I just can't. So yeah, those are all the books that I have on my list to read in 2025 so far. Now that I'm looking back at my list, I do think it was longer than I intended for it to be, but that's okay, okay? I love reading. I read 55 books last year, so I'm sure I can get through at least a couple of these. I'm sure I can. Thank you for following along. I would love to know what you guys are planning on reading this year. That would be really interesting for me. Give me some new releases that I can get into, some new books maybe I haven't heard of or that I forgot about. I will talk to you guys next time. Bye-bye.